This year marks the 80th anniversary of China's war of resistance against Japanese aggression. Too often overlooked in Western narratives, China was in fact the first major nation to stand up to fascist aggression. Long before Pearl Harbor, before the Nazi remilitarization of the Rhineland, and before most of Europe awoke to the threat. In 1931, Japan launched its aggressive expansion into China, beginning with the invasion of northeast China following the Mukden incident. A staged explosion on the Japanese-owned railway served as a pretext for military occupation, marking the start of Tokyo's campaign to dominate northeast China and seize its rich resources. Amid rising national outrage, a young Chinese student scrawled a message onto a towel. Whether the nation stands or falls, every citizen bears responsibility. He was imprisoned for his protest against Japanese aggression, but his words ignited a spark. This moment became an early signal of what would soon grow into China's full-scale war of resistance against Japanese aggression and part of the wider global fight against fascism. In 1937, another staged clash between the Japanese and Chinese troops erupted at the Marco Polo Bridge. It gave Japan the excuse to launch a full-scale invasion of China.
December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
In 1941, the Japanese launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, forcing America into the Pacific War. Franklin Roosevelt called it a day that will live in infamy. But for China, the suffering had long begun before that. After years of unimaginable hardship and devastation, the Chinese people ultimately defeated Japanese militarism, but at an enormous cost. Today, we remember the sacrifice. More than 35 million Chinese were killed or wounded in the war. Direct economic losses exceeded $100 billion and indirect losses over 500 billion. From 1931 to 1945, Chinese soldiers, guerrilla fighters, and ordinary civilians held the line against a brutal, well-equipped Japanese military machine. The resistance tied down over 500,000 Japanese troops, resources that could have been redeployed to Southeast Asia or the Pacific. It also bought time at a grave human cost for the Allies to regroup. Simply put, there would have been no global victory over fascism without China's sacrifice. Anniversaries are not just about remembrance, they're about reflection, and here lies the discomfort. 8 decades later, Japan had yet to fully confront its wartime past. There's a lack of deep, honest reckoning with the atrocities it had committed, like the Nanjing Massacre, Unit 731's human experiments in northeastern China, and the exploitation of so-called comfort women. Revisionist textbooks, political visits to the Yasukuni Shrine, and the denialist rhetoric do not suggest remorse, they suggest amnesia. Worse still, Japan is rapidly remilitarizing, reinterpreting its pacifist constitution, expanding defense budgets, and aligning itself with the military blocs under the banner of deterrence. This path, without the moral clarity of historical reckoning, raised red flags across Asia. The region remembers. China remembers. 80 years on, one thing is clear. Peace is never a given. It's been earned, protected, and reinforced through truth, humility, and responsibility. For its neighbors and also for its own future generations, Japan must embrace deeper self-examination. To avoid repeating the tragedies of the past, it must confront them, own up to them, and apologize for them. Simply put, Stop trying to erase them. What happened 80 years ago is especially relevant today amid rising geopolitical tensions, regional conflicts, and mounting uncertainty. Remembrance without reckoning risks becoming ritual, and history, when ignored, has a way of repeating itself.